Well,
Should be coming up.
I just bought a new computer. I'm looking for, there it is, YouTube.
You need Joel to come on and help you.
He can find the plug for you. He can find the plug-in for you.
Mail is what I
Oh no, that was bad, Johnny. Couldn't pick on Joel like that.
Your hearings need to be.
I appreciate that.
Hudson County, Georgia. Let's see, Hudson County. Living in Squirrel Bluff Park. Let's see.
Johnny, are you checking it? Are you checking
What's
it?
that thing you got? What about you search for there, Doug?
Hudson County Board of Commissioners.
Yeah, Hudson County Board of Commissioners.
Board of Commissioners.
That's the name of our channel.
Cool. I spell that.
Is that Upston or county or board or commissioners?
I got it. Just let me know when you can go live.
Yeah, John says it's live. He says it's live now, so you should see December 13th, Upson County Planning Commission.
Okay.
Look for Joel's red suspenders.
Joel, you wearing red suspenders?
Yes, sir. Do you know why?
Oh, there it is. Planning Commission. One watch.
Oh, my britches up.
One. Planning Commission. One watch. Oh, my britches up. Hold your britches up.
All right, Sam, if you want to mute your speakers on your computer.
Hold your britches up. Okay. I got you.
Okay. That way we don't echo on your side and you don't echo on our side. So.
Okay. All right. Good. Y'all look good. Why are you hiding your face there, Jeff?
I'm speechless at the moment.
All right. We'll call to order.
Well, it's good to be missed.
And you have been missed.
You have been missed. We'll call to order the December 13th, 2021 regular meeting for the Planning Commission. If we can have roll call.
Absolutely. Commissioner Pitts?
Yes, sir.
Chair McKinley?
Yes.
Commissioner Hilton?
Here.
Vice Chair Beatty?
Here. What's left of me?
Commissioner Dawson? Here. You have quorum, Madam Chair.
All right.
On the last meeting of 2021.
All right. Everybody has the minutes from the November 8th meeting. Any changes or additions to those meetings or to those minutes?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as they are.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay. Item number 3, old business, is the application for subdivision variance for H. Bruce Green Family Partnership. My understanding is they want to continue the public hearing again until January.
Yes, Madam Chair, you've got an email in your packet, and they've asked for that extension. They're still working on the written legal easement, which is what's hanging everything up.
Correct. Any objections with doing that?
No.
Can you make a motion to leave it open?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that public hearing will be continued until January meeting. Item number 4 is an application for special exception, SPX 2021-011. S&S Williams Trust, Representative Chris Callahan, for 1749 U.S. Highway 19, parcel 042C, 045B. We have Mr. Callahan here to represent the trust. We'll open the public hearing for this, give you your opportunity to speak to the Planning Commission.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
What I'm proposing to do is self-storage buildings. Most likely it will be 2 indoor climate controlled structures and possibly 2 traditional outdoor units. The 2 outdoor units, depending on the I guess need, I'm going to start with the indoor unit first. And if it does like I would hope it would, I would possibly do just 3 indoor units. But, the plan as of right now is 2 indoor climate controlled and 2 traditional storage. I would like to access the entrance off of Beckel Circle, kind of get you off of trying to access the property off of Highway 19. I will have a small office there just for, basically myself there to do the business with. I don't think that it will be really an impact on the area with Trey Holly's mechanic shop, further down Eccles Drive and then Dollar General adjacent to the property. I really wouldn't see where it would be a negative impact to anything. The proposed plans that I've got, and I gave Mr. Curry a copy of it, that we just recently got, is for up to 374 units, 274 units. With, like I said, majority of that being indoor climate control.
Yeah, this says 374.
374, yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything?
No.
How many units?
374 maximum.
Wow, it's a lot. To me, it
And-
seems like a lot.
Or on
Well,
this
well,
here. Oh, I'm sorry, Sam.
Yeah, I'm just saying for 3 acres, right? I don't know how big those units are. How big are they?
It's 4.13 acres.
It's a little over 4 acres, and the largest one is 10 by 30, but the majority of them are 10 by 10 or less.
Yes, ma'am. The largest structure is 250 by 95 total, outside measurements.
You're going
How many?
Yes.
How many buildings?
It would be 2 indoor climate controlled and up to 2 outdoor traditional drive-up storage. Or it could just
Okay.
be 3 indoor climate controls. I like the concept of the indoor myself. I think it kind of sets us aside from what everyone else does, but the market kind of might demand it.
Is that the indoor ones or these?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And it will be interior access only on the climate control, so there won't be doors.
Right.
Your traditional
Exterior,
garage.
right.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
I went and looked at a lot of them kind of in the Peachtree City area, and I think they look nice. I want it to be gated, fenced in. I want it to be something to where if my wife was looking for a storage unit, it would be where she would want to go. Lighted, security cameras. That's my goal.
Are you going to have mesh on your fence like your neighbor has?
My ideal, what I've been thinking is a black vinyl coated chain link fence. Kind of like what you would see at a ball field, the coated fence.
Yeah. Mr. Holly has his wrapped.
I saw that. I kind of felt like it was because he had, a bunch of automobiles there. A lot of the storage things that I looked at, they offer like boat and RV storage. That's not an option for me. I don't like the look of it. And I don't want this to be where someone goes, I have a boat and an RV. I understand every time you use it, you have to work on it. And I don't like the concept of that.
So your plans are not to have any kind of RV, boats, any kind of automobiles
No.
on premises.
No, you're not.
No outside storage.
No.
You would still be like just a vinyl coated chain link?
Yes, sir.
I mean, if I was using that, I personally would rather have that than closed in because, you know, you're not concealed from the, if you were in there, you know, you wouldn't be like you were, you know, in a place that somebody couldn't see if somebody were actually came in.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah, and I'm good with that. So if he's going to have vehicles on premises,
No, sir.
I put it on Mr. Holly to have his sense like that, and I would recommend him to have his sense like that.
If he was going to have it.
If he was going to have it, but he's saying he's not going
Right. Yeah, it's all storage, interior storage.
Yes. The drivable surface will all be asphalt. I don't want the question on, you know, I want this to be something that's nice.
Well, we all do.
Okay. Do you guys have, Joel, anybody have questions for Chris? No?
Okay.
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Same.
Okay. Okay, Doug, can we get your staff report?
Absolutely. Again, the applicant and the property owner is S&S Williams Trust. Mr. Williams would be purchasing the property, I presume, if all this gets approved through the process. So, I'm sorry, Mr. Callahan. Mr. Williams actually is one of the trustees, and Mr. Callahan is the purchaser, representing the trust. And that's allowed by the trust just appointing him, understanding that you're going to buy this, and if everything goes through, so we'll just let you do all the talking to everybody. The zoning is C2, and in the C2, that lists many warehouse storage facilities as permitted uses by special exception. As we've heard, 4.13 acres. There's frontage on US Highway 19, which apparently already has an address, and then the majority of the frontage is along the Eccles Circle. The zoning in the area is majority C2. The DOT offices are M1, so we certainly have compatible zoning in the area. As you know, there are review standards that you and the Board of Commissioners are to use to determine the acceptability level of a project like this. I provided a staff analysis in terms of contrary to the purpose of the ordinance. Obviously, this is listed as a special exception, so as long as it meets whatever the criteria that are set, it certainly isn't contrary to the purpose since it is listed as a potential special exception. Detrimental to the adjacent properties. The biggest thing, as you can imagine, is these facilities really generate minimum additional traffic, additional noise, those sort of things. The biggest impact is aesthetic. You got to look at it all the time, and you either like what you look at or you don't like what you're going to look at. And so that's obviously worked into the conditions of approval. This is the first one of these since I've been here. I think there might have been one before I arrived, but this is the first one that you've worked on and has been submitted since I've been here. So there are not a lot of standards. So this is a very good project for you to set those standards. And if you recall, part of the Wood project is probably to eventually develop a mini warehouse ordinance. We're just not there yet. So this is going to be your first stab, at least, at some of the standards you might want to look at for these sorts of uses. Again, in terms of the nuisances, there's not normally a lot of activity. Of course, if illegal activity is going on or if active uses are allowed, and you heard a reference by Mr. Callahan to that, you know, it's not uncommon in some of these facilities for people to basically operate a business, work on some of their machinery that might be stored there. So that's something that you might want to look at, anticipate, work in the conditions as to what level is that acceptable or is it not acceptable. Because obviously that's when you get a lot of activity and interaction there, that's when you potentially are going to get some nuisance activities. Generally speaking, if it's just stuff in and stuff out, you're not going to get a lot of nuisance type activity. existing uses in the area, lot size, effect, etc. This is compatible with the zoning as we discussed, and as you saw in the aerial, the photographs, and as we just discussed, there's businesses along this area of that little circle. We have discussed previously when we rezoned the piece of property, it was commercial to residential, that there are residential units to the north of this. But we would anticipate that, again, as long as there's not a lot of ongoing activity there, that there would be minimum impact on the neighborhood that still exists. Other requirements, occupation tax would have to be paid as a business, building permits would have to be pulled, any state regulation from any warehouses, self-storage units would have to be followed, etc. And of course, many of those things don't have to happen unless you get approval. So there's not a lot of these things being done before approval. Therefore, staff recommends approval for basically 4 reasons. Number 1 is listed as an acceptable use. And this is something I want to discuss. Point number 2, there's minimal frontage on U.S. Highway 19, approximately 162 feet. And then going to 3 and 4, you can recommend conditions and the Board of Commissioners can require, and I anticipate there will be, if not the conditions of minimum that we're discussed here, certainly maybe even more. But with design review, that will allow at least, okay, you have to do that. That can be your big condition as long as everybody likes what they see in design review, which I am recommending. And then it's generally consistent with the adopted special exception guidelines. Going back to number 2, this is I think a philosophy as the Planning Commission you're going to have to think about. And I certainly had a discussion with a future applicant. Well, now he's a current applicant. You have one of these coming up in January at your meeting. The application was submitted for the case you're familiar with on US 19 today. And my concern with these sorts of projects is their location on your major commercial corridors. These are storage units. There aren't a lot of customers coming and going. There aren't storefronts. There aren't windows. There will be whatever landscaping that you want, and that will certainly add to it in terms of aesthetics. But in terms of actual use, I mean, this was the oversized example that I used with the applicant today. I said, if an Amazon warehouse wanted to locate on US 19, would we say yes to that? I would certainly not recommend approval of that. That sort of size and use needs to belong in an industrial area. Now, shrinking that down to something like this, it has similar impacts. It's sort of dead space. There's not a lot of activity. Hopefully you've got good aesthetics, although our history in Upson County is that we don't have good aesthetics. And that's a place where you could have restaurants, you could have small shops, you could have that sort of activity going on, and all of a sudden, no, it's just walls and a fence, maybe some nice landscaping, and no other activity. So you can imagine if you got 3 or 4 or 5 of these all strung next to each other. I'm just trying to magnify the issue so that it becomes a little more apparent to you. When it's one at a time, it might not be. So, if we had a policy or this were in the zoning ordinance somehow, and I hope eventually we do have more detailed criteria, if it's going to be on one of our commercial corridors, I would hope they would have a similar access like this. It's kind of a narrow access, and then the big part of it's back there somewhere. And part of that discussion is also from a business model standpoint. These are the sort of facilities that people seek out. If I don't see them, I'm going to look for them electronically. I'm going to research for them. It's not one of those, look what's sitting there. I drove by it. I'm going to stop in and, no, it's not a stop by because I happen to be driving in the area. Now, maybe for a year or 2, I know where that is because now I need a storage unit. It's called passerby diverted in transportation planning, and this is not a passerby diverted type of use. It's not like, let's eat at that restaurant, or let's shop at that store, or I was looking at cars, or that sort of thing. It's not heavily reliant on that sort of traffic. They seek you out. So, hey, if we had 5 or 6 apartment complexes relatively close, I'd say, put one of these right in the middle of them. because a lot of those folks don't have a lot of room. They need the storage, and they're normally high-rise and elevated. You normally have a lower expectation of the aesthetics in your neighborhood when you're in apartments with 3, 4, 5 stories and a whole lot more people than if you're in a single-family neighborhood that's, got decent-sized yards and landscaping and all that. So, again, that may or may not come up in your discussion here, but I think you need to, as the county's citizen planners, think about these are not automatic for C2 zoning along 74 or 36 or 19 or 80, our major corridors that we've discussed in a previous ordinance. So that's something to think about in this case and also future cases. All right, moving on. So the staff recommendation, I'll just quickly go over the conditions, and then we can talk about them in whatever detail you want. And you've heard in the presentation tonight that some of these won't apply. But again, that doesn't mean that a future owner might not want to change their mind. So whatever conditions you choose to set based on what was said tonight, those, you might want to set those in concrete based on the fact that, properties do change hands. People change their mind. Anyway, so the biggest thing here is I don't think this should be your final approval. I think you've heard, especially from the Board of Commissioners and other discussions and other different sort of projects, they want to see what this is going to look like. They want to see the design. So what I put together there was minimal information. I expect another packet to come back to this body for just review and then maybe comment. And then if the applicant feels that whatever your comments are in that design packet, it would then be forwarded to the Board of Commissioners for final approval. I guess we can decide whether or not that would be a public hearing or not. My early thoughts are it wouldn't be, but on the other hand, and based especially on the crowd that we have here, it might not be necessary to hold a public hearing for that design review, but that's up to you. That can be part of your discussion. So I think the whole design package, we have the site plan, so that part of the list has been started, but I think there's a whole lot more things that you haven't seen yet. Then I start going into how it can be used. Number 2 is we don't even have a definition of mini warehouse or self-storage. So number 2 is sort of my attempt to start to get a definition in there. And certainly if at some point we amend the ordinance, we can work on the definition of what exactly is a mini storage unit or mini warehouse as we call it currently. Accessory type uses, what will you accept, what will you not, what activities will you accept, what won't you. You see some indication in number 3. The vision there, and this is a type of facility I've used many times myself, is often there's a U-Haul associated with these facilities, a Hertz rent truck, things like that. So if that would be envisioned in one of these things, you'll see that number 3 sort of covers that. You've heard here that basically this owner's not interested in that. But again, that's now. Minds can be changed, ownership can change, etc. So you want to have guidelines for every sort of thing. And then if you want to condition this, any one of these more specifically, you can do that. Well, you said you weren't going to do this, so that'll be conditioned. So if the new owner comes in, they're going to have to come back to us and get that changed if they want to do something different in their business model. Number 4 addresses the outdoor vehicle storage. I won't discuss a lot here because we heard that won't be part of it, but I think that certainly would need to be addressed in your ordinance and any conditions of approval. 5 is also dealing with the vehicles. And then 6, occasionally, I don't think we have any of these in Upson County, but it's not uncommon for there to be a manager apartment in these. And I just want to include that, yes, that would be acceptable to have a manager apartment. Normally it's upstairs from the office, and the manager and their family usually live there. So those are the limited conditions. I just did a little bit of quick research and hit things that certainly were not ordinance linked, but that would be some of the high points that I think we want to address in pretty much every case, including what I'm going to call our first one, because it's been so many years since we had another one. And of course, you will be making your recommendation to the Board of Commissioners based on tonight's meeting and any other further discussions in the future. This is the aerial photograph. This is 2020. What you don't see here, but you do see in your packet, and I try in the next graphic, is that, and Mr. Callahan may be able to correct me, but I believe that the expansion of, and my mouse, well, there we go. we'll show you. Anyway, the shop in the back is going to expand. They've added additional, I'm not sure if they've closed or not. They might have recently closed. They'll be seeking expansion, and so not all the property is included in the storage unit. This was my estimate of where that line was. I could be a little bit off, but that is where the line would be in the to the west would be the additional shop location. All right, in terms of our photographs, this is basically looking from the entrance of the shop to the east, so you can see the roof of Dollar General there. So this isn't exactly the property, it's in front of this, but it gives you an idea of the contour in the area. And then this is the front, this is that building, which I guess we might have heard is going to remain. I guess this would be your office?
No, that building can be removed.
That would be demolished? Okay.
No, we'll remove that.
Okay. So this is the front of the property, at least while we've now found out that the building will be demolished. You can basically see there's some perspective of the width of the front of the property then as it fronts 19. And then this is looking from that building back towards the shop, and the Dollar General will be to your right or to the north. And the Dollar General. The shop. And as you know, to the north, we have residential single-family duplexes along Echo Circle. So this is the frontage to the north, some of the buildings there. And that concludes the staff report, Madam Chair.
All right.
If I ask Mr. Calhoun a question.
Sure.
What is your perspective on signage? What you going to do about signage?
I would like to have, leading up to the gate, just a brick kind of entrance with minimal signage. This, kind of like Mr. Curry said, this isn't something where you're really advertising like the Dollar General big yellow sign, just something basically saying the name of it. I don't perceive having an aerial sign.
Nothing on 19.
Yeah. Maybe like grand openings the week.
Oh, yeah, I mean, as far as a permanent sign in 19, you're not looking to do anything there.
No. This kind of goes along with what Mr. Curry said. This is a business that when you need it, you seek it out. And, kind of how I got on this is being in the rental business, I get calls every day for people wanting rental houses, and while I'm on the phone with them, they say, do you know anywhere I can get a storage building? And this is just a tremendous need for the county. When my family needed one a while back, they had to go to Meriwether County to rent one. Lucky to find one there. But so it's something that I think people seek out. I don't see a reason to advertise it visually like that.
What is the road footage on 19? Did I hear 162 feet?
Yes.
That's approximate, yes.
But you don't anticipate having an entrance there.
No, sir.
No.
What are you going to have there? Just a fence with
Well, in the
screen?
general vicinity of the house will be a retention pond. Just Dollar General has a retention pond, and I'm assuming it'll probably back up to it. So
Okay.
if you look between the Dollar General parking lot and Highway 19, you can see their retention pond. And
I guess my question is, as you travel along 19 and you get to Echo Circle, what are you going to see in terms of your property?
nothing really.
It's basically all going to be behind Dollar General.
Should be far enough to the road, you're not even going to be not even going to really notice it.
Yeah, but he's got 162 feet of road frontage on 19. I'm worried. I mean, I'm just curious about what is that 162 feet going to look like?
Well, you're several hundred.
It's not going to have an entrance.
No, so you'll be.
Is it going to have a fence, or is it going to have? We just did a gateway ordinance, I don't know where we stand on that, but, there was a requirement for, landscaping and whatnot. I mean, is that gonna apply to that 162 feet?
There's no plans to use it, really.
Is that to me?
I mean, I'm just
No,
curious.
Do you have any plans to use, if you drew a straight line from behind Dollar General, straight across that piece of property going all the way to 70, or to 19, do you have any plans to use that?
No, ma'am, that'll primarily just be retention pond and then, green space. And, to be completely honest, if we could move the retention pond west to kind of just directly adjacent with Dollar General, that lot could be sold for, commercial to someone else.
How deep would that be if you drew that line back? Like, this is a 4.3 acre lot total. How much would that take off of?
Probably around an acre. But
You're more
still
now.
100 foot from 19 to the per structure. I don't see a reason to use it. It's not large enough for me to do anything.
Yeah, well, it's 162 feet wide. Or are we talking about which line is 162 feet? The line along 19? Or the line along the Dollar General?
The line along 19 from where Dollar General's corner is on 19.
That's over an acre wide. An acre is 100, what is it, Joe? 109 or 110 feet by 110 feet?
204.
204.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a 210.
204.
Okay, so it's not quite the width of an acre.
Yeah.
Okay. It's pretty narrow then. All right. Well, I guess my concern is the aesthetics along 19. And I'm hoping that once you get to Echo Circle, there might be some landscaping and vegetation at the entrance. Beautify up some.
You're going to be far enough up Eccles, you're really not going to see that, I don't think, from 19.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that the property owner would want his property to look nice.
Well, you said you were going to put a brick entrance and security gate.
I can give you a rough if you want to see.
Sure.
That's preliminary. That's what I took from somewhere else.
Yeah, so Sam, I know you can't see this, but it's basically security gate that slides left or right at the entrance to this. So it's going to have that dedicated entrance, I guess you'd say, that's going to be set for that's going to have it definitely be marked and going to have the aesthetics, I think, that goes with it.
Right. I guess my other concern is the storage of vehicles. That we put a caveat in the approval that if he decides to store vehicles, RVs or the like, trailers, U-Hauls, that he has to come back before the commission.
Correct. Yeah, he said he wasn't going to do
That little pocket would be perfect for the storage of vehicles. That little 162 by whatever it is, 200 feet, or 250 feet probably. If you wanted to store vehicles, that would be perfect for that. But all of that would be visible from 19.
That's right.
Yeah, that's my only concern.
Yeah,
otherwise I would be willing to approve, the the special exception.
I think if this came down to 19, we would want a wrapped fence from 19, just from an aesthetics standpoint.
Yeah.
Not being on 19,
Well,
I'm good with
I would also, is there a fence along 19 right now?
No,
I would want some green space
that's what it's going to be.
along 19.
Yep.
With a retention.
Yeah,
With a retention pond in there.
yeah. Okay. Well, the last retention pond I saw was completely grown up and looked like damage. So, I would want it to be aesthetic.
Right.
You go out to look at the retention pond on the Dollar General on 74. It looks horrible. It's all grown up and briars and weeds and, just different things. Privet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Simply because they're not cutting it.
Yep.
So, whatever's on 19, Lisa, looks nice.
Yes. I agree with that. Any other questions? You guys have?
Okay.
Do I have a motion with conditions?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve it or recommend approval.
We need a design. We're gonna ask for a design packet with more specifics and the structure itself before we actually approve it.
Okay. Yeah.
So my takeaway, you guys can go, but my takeaway from what you said was you're going to have a concrete drive area all the way around it. Asphalt. I said concrete. Asphalt drive area all the way around it. You're going to have a security gate at the street. How about lighting all the way around it? Okay. Outside.
And security, sir.
And security. No outdoor vehicle storage, no rental truck business, to include a non-resident office. Someone's not going to live there, but there's going to be an office. And any development going towards Highway 19 from what other than what you have here would have to come back to us for approval, whether it pertains to this business or something totally different. Doug, do we want to put those conditions in this, or do we want him to come back to us with these things included with his design packet?
I think you can do it either way, but if you want to make it clear your direction already, I think we can take those and include them. And obviously those would have to be in the design requirements, or just, these are prohibited.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Chris, do you have prints or anything from the company? I'm sure you're buying all this is already pre-built or pre-done. Did they come in and just put it together?
Yes.
Do you have prints or anything from them yet?
Just the site layout. I'll end up having to go through an engineering company for the basically hydrology and the retention pond and storm drain size and stuff.
I was just talking about the buildings themselves from the company, because I know this company said design and I need this many units and this is my size, and they send you a blueprint and this is what it is.
They have 7 going up kind of between Leesburg and the south side area, so I've looked at what they have, but until you're willing to put some serious money into it, they're not going to give you the design package.
Like $500,000.
I wish it was that.
I'm from a distant store.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So how do we want to?
Well, I guess, do we want to delete some of the recommendations that I had, and then we can substitute in the language that you just presented to us? Sounds like we would delete 3, 2 would stay, delete 4, delete 5, and now you've deleted 6. And so we could delete, 3 through 6 as his here, but include the language that you just provided, which is basically going to be a more minimal requirements for the design material packet number 1.
So do we, for the design packet, do we want, we can put these requirements in there
As minimums,
as minimum.
another would just, or we would list, it wouldn't be in the design packet, but there may be condition 4, prohibited uses, and that would be the accessory apartment, the vehicle storage, etc. The things that you just listed.
Okay.
The prohibitive use is simple and easy. To get a full design, you got to put down money before they're going to give you a design packet for us to look at.
Yes, sir.
So he's going to need some kind of, tentative approval, I guess, to move forward if he's going to invest $500,000 in more.
Do they give you anything that shows what they look like pictures of what they look like, what the buildings look like, the structure itself?
Well, they kind of tell you their locations and let you go look for color schemes and things, but that's a little subjective because some of the ones we might have a brick frontage. Some of them, typically, it's going to be resembling what you saw at the shop behind it, where it's a standing seam metal structure with double glass doors for the entrances. I would say it's very similar to the shop building behind it. But then the Dollar General, it kind of has the facial part of it, has some stone and all that. And that's something that I'm open to on the part that faces Echo Circle, especially the building that kind of has the office room.
And I don't think we necessarily have to see the design.
No.
But if you say, okay, this is the facade in general, these are the colors in general, it's got all those
I guess that's what I was just trying to clear up, what we're going to require from him. If we're going to, because, before I'm going to put, if I was doing it before I would send them that kind of money, I'm going to have some kind of tentative, okay, we're going to prove this, pending this, and I guess that's what I was trying to say before. What level of design package are we going to require before we're going to say, okay, you can go with it?
You call your mom. Yeah, she's over here. Okay, see you later. Hey, I'm going to pick you up in the morning
Hey, Sam.
Yeah.
Hey.
I was talking to my son. Sorry.
That's all right. Just put us on mute.
Okay, well, he's gone.
Okay.
No worries.
Okay. So how do we want it? What's your... I'm okay putting this in and as a basically these are the guidelines to go for, but I would still like to have the design packet at some point come to us, or at least to Doug to see.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
What's your
Well, I think there's a whole lot. For instance, how many stories are we talking with the air conditioner? Are we talking 2 stories or 3 stories, or how many stories with 1 story?
One story. It's all single story.
What will the outside exterior facade be on the side?
It would be very similar to the shop, the mechanical place in the back.
Okay, so it's going to be a metal building.
Yes, sir.
Metal building, okay.
do you know what color?
I kind of like the dull gray. It's just not very. It's so neutral.
Right.
That's my goal. Most of the ones I've seen were the flat gray. I think if you look at that, that's a very good representation of the color right there. And if you, Mr. Curry, if you want to scroll back one to the Dollar General, that's kind of the secondary look that I was talking about with the stone front. But at the end of the day, it's a metal building. From a security standpoint, from a maintenance standpoint, from bad weather, it's all around. And that will be a good representation of the lighting as well. Not so much the ones you see on the top because they're kind of advertising, but if you look on the right side there.
Is it a pitched roof or flat?
It's a pitched roof. It says that, it's kind of hard to read it.
Yeah, it's usually a pitch roof on them, and then it's going to be a full metal building, and
one quarter 12 pitch gable.
And interior entrance on those, so you're not having anything on the outside that's going to be really appealing. So it's going to be a straight metal building.
A lot of the ones they do up north that has exterior access on the climate control, I just don't like the looks of it. I think this is more appealing. It's kind of like the boat north. I don't like the concept of people there working on stuff.
Yeah.
And the residential dwelling, that's kind of something. As the business has evolved, most people are getting away from that. Everything now, we're in a contactless society where people want to pick up the phone and hit an app and, handle business that way. So.
Okay. We'll have suggestions, motions. Don't all speak at once.
All right, give us the options again.
Well, I think based on the information that Mr. Callahan's presented and what you discussed, I'll go back to our visual here. Conditions 3, 4, and 5 I think would be out. And let's get that there. Okay, there we go. 3, 4, and 5 would be out. We would probably be able to keep 1, 2, and 3. Now, the wording of 1 requires him to come back to you with a more defined packet. Again, I don't think it has to be the specific design, but maybe all the colors, all the materials, a mock-up. I mean, obviously there's elevation drawings of some of these buildings somewhere. So while they not be this specific location, it could be the examples of everything we talked about. I really don't think a landscape plan is out of the realm of something that you should. I think you should be able to ask for that, as simple or as complicated as it might be. So in that vein, it's do you want it to come back to you or not? Then we go through the list. Of course, we've got it recorded, hopefully 2 different ways. But just quickly jotting it down, I have the asphalt paving, we have the security gate, security lighting.
Security cameras.
Did he commit? Was that something?
Did you say security? There was going to be security cameras.
Cameras, okay. No outdoor storage and no live-in apartment. That's what I had. I'm not sure if I missed 1 or 2.
No rental truck.
No rental truck.
On the design plan, is that something that we could require that it would be with it permitting, that it's got to meet the design has got to go through you and
well, I think if you give us the complete list that it's got to be boom, 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 and the Board of Commissioners agrees
without it having to come back to us.
Yes,
what I'm saying, if the design plan would meet the standard that that the building inspector and you would if it would eliminate it having to come back to us.
Right. You would basically give us the checklist so that we would be able to look at your checklist and yep, it's there, it's there, it's there, it's there.
That's just what I'm saying. If we could do that and eliminate a step back to us, just makes a business sense. It makes sense for us to.
Okay, so with these conditions, the design packet needs to show these stipulate, or something that you come back with the design packet to Doug. It needs to show these stipulations.
And this is for plan approval or for project approval? I think
This is for us to approve it so that you know exactly what you have to come back to them with you to get your permit.
I guess some language that could be in the front of this is that the project design materials and conditions will have to be satisfied at building permit application stage.
Yes.
Okay.
I like that.
Yep.
Okay.
So it needs to reference.
How big pickup are we requiring the design to be? I mean, is it going to be a professionally prepared design, like a landscape plan, or is it going to be just something scratched out on a piece of paper?
No, it needs to be something that comes from the manufacturer as far as the buildings themselves.
Now, I'm talking about like landscaping and that kind of thing. Didn't y'all require some kind of landscape?
It's going to be asphalt with chain link fence.
It's going to be asphalt with chain link fence. There's really not anything to inside of there.
Okay.
My one question is, how far off of Echo Circle is your security gate going to be? Is it going to be far enough so that somebody pulling in there with a truck or a trailer is not blocking?
Yes, ma'am. If you look, it's actually about after the second unit, because they're interior access only. You're probably 50 foot or so
off of Echo
Yes,
Circle.
ma'am.
So that the gate would be that far off.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The gate to enter the property.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
No, you have to have,
Right.
you need to get that.
Okay, so minimum standards in order to satisfy for a building permit with the design packet. Needs to show asphalt drive area all the way around. Security gate at the street, minimum 50 feet off the street. Security lighting and cameras around all buildings. No outdoor vehicle or boat storage. No rental truck business. No
outdoor storage.
Right, no outdoor storage, period, whether it's vehicles, boats, anything.
Pineapple, or, containers, or,
Right. Nothing outdoor stored. No residential office.
Are we going to require signage on that?
He said he was going to have one sign at the entrance on Echo Circle. Is that going to be a lit sign?
I wouldn't think so.
Okay.
I mean, it's just not where you really do business at night.
Right.
I just need to know who to call.
Right.
Yeah, my concern if it was lit at night is
Neighbors. That's why I asked that. And then the only other thing I would put is any development beyond what's on this that goes towards Dollar General, Highway 19, has to come back to planning and zoning. Anything other than a retention pond.
Is that retention pond there at present, or is that something that's got to be constructed?
It's if you look at Dollar General right at the corner of 19 and Echo Circle, is there retention pond? This is kind of going to follow suit of
This is just going to be
farther
a
back.
continuation?
No, it's going to be farther back, but similar size.
Okay, so they're going to have their own retention pond.
Right. Yes.
Is that something that is required? Who requires that, Doug?
Well, in this case, it would be the developer themselves.
Yeah.
We don't have stormwater
It's
regulations.
just gonna depend on what your design is gonna require, for any runoff.
Okay.
If there is a design requirement in your runoff, whether it would be.
Well, he's gonna have close to, I don't know, maybe 2 acres of asphalt. So there's gonna be a good bit of runoff.
Yep.
Does the ground slope that way now? Does it slope towards 19?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The site engineers, they'll be the one that comes up with the size.
Right.
But again, kind of like
Okay.
Mr. Johnny said, there's, until
Well, a lot of my questions are just curiosity.
until you have
Don't bring them to them.
purchase and
Yeah.
approval,
They're not going to
you're
tell
not
you.
going to spend
Right.
$100,000 on
Right.
engineering.
That's
They
right.
still said on a lot of things, you hadn't purchased property, all this is pending,
Right.
everything is pending on this purchase, everything.
Yes, sir.
So based on that list that I just gave,
I'll make a motion.
do I have a motion to approve
Yeah.
with that list, with those conditions?
Yes.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm not.
Madam Chair, I just want to get back to that list, just
Okay.
to make sure that I'm not your list, but the one in condition number 1. There we go. All right,
So we are,
elevation drawings, I presume we're sort of going to get that anyway. Site
Drawing.
plan we already have.
yep,
But we don't have, and we know that it's asphalt.
right, driving
I
service.
guess we know approximate dimensions. We don't have the drainage plans yet. Are we going to want to see those, or we don't want to see those? Is that included?
You're gonna need, you're gonna have.
I mean, they're gonna have to see that with permit.
Well, what, in terms of the site plan,
Yeah.
if it includes it. All right. Construction materials, is that going to be in this packet?
That will be in your packet, will be construction materials, the color.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the site plan will have utility locations. We already know the parking areas in the site plan. Are we at 0 landscape and buffering? Is that where we are? There is no landscape, there is no
I
buffering?
think it's all asphalt side of the fence, right? Yeah.
Has the developer already reached out to a supplier for the building material or the buildings?
Yes.
Or is that yet to be done?
He's done that, but he can't move forward in any way with them until this gets,
Yeah, but
Approved.
typically they can provide packets of what their buildings look like,
that's what he said.
how they're constructed and whatnot.
Yes.
They provide the site plan.
They provide the site plan. That's it.
Yeah, okay.
So the design packet with all the details that we just outlined will need to be brought to Joe's office in order to get the building permit.
It's part of the building
It's
permit.
part of the
Yes, that's
permit
part of the
application.
application, those things would be supplied
Correct.
at permit application time.
Correct.
I think it's clear.
Okay. Awesome. All right. We're good. Thank you. Thanks for answering all of our questions.
Thank you, Ben.
And then I believe, January 11th is your board of commissioners. See you next year.
We'll be here.
Right here at 6 o'clock, not 5:30. If they're half an hour late, start them half an hour late.
All right. Thank you all again.
Thank you. All right. Item number 5, other business. First on that list is the Benson Institute of Government training discussion.
Just if you two would like to tell us how it went and whether it was worthwhile or not.
It was the most woke thing I've ever been to in my life. And we are going to require you from here on out, when we put up an advertising sign anywhere within a half a mile, we've got to give personal invitations to come to activities.
And you got to bring donuts and barbecue.
And barbecue. We got to do barbecues twice a year.
No kidding. No kidding.
It was.
That was to invite folks to the planning commission meeting and have
Yep.
food?
For public hearings.
For public hearings.
That when you put an advertising sign up within a certain radius, that you gave personal invitations to everyone within a radius of that sign to attend the public hearings.
Oh, yeah, there are governments that require direct notice, mailed notice, absolutely.
No, this was.
Oh, no, this is hand delivered. Hand delivered.
Was her suggestion that you can deliver
Yeah.
personal notices to each residence within
Had
a certain
3, 4,
radius.
5 public hearings because people had child care issues.
And it's also different locations and different times. It was the same teacher that did the one, in 19?
Did the first one that I went to, you guys
When
went
I went
to.
to 19.
Christy Marlowe. She's been there a while.
Same one, but her whole mindset was different.
Well, this was a different group. Most of these participants were from Atlanta metro areas. So whole different. There was one person from Monroe County, I think. Yeah. Everybody else was pretty much metro.
Yeah, so it was
Different conversation. So, but it's interesting to hear how other people go about doing things, and some of the things you never even think about here because it's not an issue here,
Right.
but they're dealing with it. So that was interesting on some of that. But I think it would be nice. I know there probably is not enough people, but if you split a metro versus a rural county, have two classes, I think the conversation would be totally different.
it would be directed into it.
And did they ask for comments? Did you make those comments at the end? Okay. Yeah, I think I've been to a couple of their trainings just to escort planning commissioners, like Commissioner Pitts. I went on, I think, both of yours. But I think at the ones that we went, it was smaller governments. It was kind of interesting. It's just, I'm sure that was an accident.
So the first one that I went to, the 101, was more rural.
Yeah, I think I was.
I would say this one was 95%
Larger jurisdiction.
larger, yeah, metro.
Now, that's probably just by chance, unless, I don't know how much participation they get, so it's like, hey, we're lucky to have enough people here just at the session.
Yeah, see, and that's what I don't know. Like I said, the one that I know that was outside of metro was Monroe County. That's the only one that I can remember that was outside of metro.
They were either metro or really close, inside the greater Atlanta circle.
Right.
Gainesville, I think there was one Gainesville. But anyway, but it's always good to hear what other people have to.
And I think that second class from your description has changed a little bit. Again, Commissioner Pitts went to his second class a while ago, and I attended that one because I hadn't been to it either. And it sounds like it's changed quite a bit.
This was pretty, most of it was on the public hearing side of it.
Yeah.
About addressing and making them, like I said, the barbecue. So she was serious.
She was dead serious.
She was dead serious about barbecues and personal related implications. Helping people adults.
So anyway, Sam, here's your choices of new ordinance work choices. The list can be one of these or something else, but the list shows group homes, wellhead protection, river and corridor protection, tent camping, noise, and animals. Does anybody have a preference?
Is tiny homes coming back to us?
One day.
Why?
If they change it enough.
If they change it enough.
But they're not even going to workshop them until next year.
Where did this list come from?
Where did this list come from? Does this come from?
From the commissioners or?
Well, there was an email that I sent you all and I indicated that some of these came from their dashboard. I actually tried to get a updated the last copy of their dashboard. And their dashboard is sort of like their list of projects they'd like to do in the next 12 months.
Right.
And obviously, we reviewed it several times. And so some of these are on there. As a matter of fact, some of them are on there, ones you've already done, or that you just passed on to them.
I was fixing to ask, I guess about a year and a half ago or so, did we have an issue with the group home?
We did.
Right.
I thought we did.
Yeah, we did.
It's just been, we've been so busy with other things.
It was only one or two. It was like a one or two person, wasn't it?
We also
Wasn't it a house that somebody wanted to buy and put like one or two people?
Didn't we also discuss noise and animals at some point?
At one point.
Don't say animals out loud.
We started with animals, and animals grew to we had pet iguanas and everything else under the sun. So I think we decided that if we were going to do something with animals, we needed to do more than just dogs or more than just chickens.
Well, we need to do pets of all shapes and sizes.
And I think what happened is there were just other issues that overwhelmed, and we never got back to it. And it's not exactly a land use issue, animals. So.
Yeah. There was backyard chickens too. Did we ever resolve that?
Well, that got
rolled into animals. That's kind of where we started going down this path. We started a long list of animals that we needed to address, and I think it got a little overwhelming quickly.
With this list of options, instead of us looking this, if it's going to go to commission, what do they want first? If we're going to listen, it doesn't matter what we say. If it's what they want us to address.
Well, that's why I asked if this came from them.
That's the direction we need to go.
Well, and I asked before this, I hoped that updated, because again, I could have presented you with a 1-year-old, maybe 14-month-old dashboard list of projects, and of course there are other departments listed on the dashboard. It's not just us, but we're in there. But I could not get a copy of the updated one to see if it had been prioritized. But then I asked the county administrator, and he basically says right now he doesn't think there is a strong direction on any of these. These are on the list and have been on. Most of them have been on the list in the past. I mean, I can, again, going over the email that I sent you, I can tell you absolutely that noise is on their list, animals is on their list. And I want to say group homes also. So there's 3. I think it's somewhere on that year-old dashboard list.
I understand that, but I mean, if they want, if we're going to try to do something in the direction they want, then okay, what do you want us to deal with first? Instead of us spinning our wheels here and there, and then they say, well, we'd rather have this first. I mean, we've done tiny homes, and now they.
Well, I think maybe why we should do it is send them a list and ask them to prioritize it, or add something that we don't have. I know tent camping is something that's just come about in the last couple months. But I mean, I'm inclined to send them a list and let them prioritize it, and then if there's something we didn't put on there, have them include that and add that to the list.
We can do that.
But it appears that some of these could be easily remedied, like wellhead protection. Protect your wellhead. I mean that's.
Come on now.
I mean,
you gotta have a design plan. You gotta have the building materials and the color and
medications,
all that stuff. So it just goes from there.
Maybe I'm confused.
I'm playing with you.
I hope so. Because I got a wellhead, and I think I do. And it's just a pipe coming out of the ground. And, I could put something on top of it and protect it, if that's what you want me to do.
Might keep it from freezing.
Tent camping seems like we could easily come up with an ordinance for. And even the riverine corridor seems pretty simple. Don't throw anything in the river, and if you're going to construct something, there's also some state regulations that I guess we could just mirror, as far as building next to a waterway. And, the riverine, I guess it needs to include all of the major creeks or the tributaries in the county as well. Wouldn't that be correct, Doug?
You would use the list. Yes, I would think similar to your list of entrance corridors, you would provide a list of which
ones,
creeks, which rivers, how far down, et cetera.
Well, we got some sizable, when I was on the Sparrow Bluff Committee, it was kind of surprising to me that, there's quite a number of tributaries from Upson County, Cobra Creek and Potato Creek, and there's Elkins Creek, but it's actually in Pike County, but it's very close to our county line. So I would think that whatever ordinance we come up with would apply to those bodies of water as well.
Correct.
So
are we in agreement? Does anybody have anything other than what's on this list that you'd like to add to that list?
I don't.
Just send that to them.
So can we send this list to them, ask them to prioritize it for us, and add anything that may be new, and then we can
just like
start on that. Okay. Next one is the 2022 meeting schedule. Everybody's got this.
yeah.
Any issues that we foresee on this? No.
All right. Let's go take a motion for approval.
Do I have a motion to
I'll
approve
make a
this
motion
calendar?
to approve this upcoming planning commission schedule list.
Second.
I'll second it.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you. I'll get you a new copy of your next meeting that says approved list. Put that right in the middle of the refrigerator where this year's is.
And it'll be written in red.
I write it in red. I will do that. Red.
I just have to say
All right. Next, we have planning commissioner issues and announcements. Does anyone have anything?
I just want to say how happy I am to be back among you. As we move forward here, I hope to maybe by next month I'll actually be in physical attendance. I may still be staggering in the building, but hopefully I'll be able to make it.
Well, that sounds good. That sounds good. Like we said before, it sure is glad to hear your voice. It sure is good to hear your voice.
Yeah, well, it's a little gravelly, but and I don't know why that is. I wouldn't wish COVID on anybody. It ain't no game, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Not when you're 62. So that's all I've got.
All right. Item 7, Secretary's issues and announcements. Do you have anything?
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Absolutely.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas to everyone. Anybody have anything else before we adjourn?
I don't.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Adjourn. 6:45.
See you, Sam.
All right,
You take care.
boys and girls.
All right.